Mars is all about bronze. Jupiter is all about the divine. Hey crew, I'm Lexi, your local lightworker. I'm a tarot reader and an astrologer, and in this clip I want to clarify for you the difference between the astrological Jupiter and the astrological Mars in a heterosexual women's chart from my experience of having created birth charts for my clients so far. Focusing on these two planets can tell us why, for example, a woman might be made happier by a particular type of man, but she can feel herself more sexually attracted, more aroused by a specific other kind of man. So I hope to be able to clarify the influence of these two planets and why they create these contradictory attractions in the birth chart. Okay, so Jupiter. Jupiter is the god of gods. It is the great benefactor in your chart. It rules over the happy-go-lucky, adventurous, optimistic, and spiritually minded sign of Sagittarius, or those people born with their sun in Sagittarius from the end of November and the beginning of December. So Sagittarius energy is about growth, it's about expansion. Sagittarians make great teachers because they are blessed by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet that rules them, and also in our solar system, if you guys have a look at all the reports from NASA and all the research regarding Jupiter, you will see that Jupiter acts as cosmic benefactor for us because it defends the Earth from being pummeled by a string of asteroids. So it is considered to be the benefic energy of the divine, protecting us and enshrouding us in its warm embrace. And this is exactly the kind of influence where, if you have a look in your birth chart, if you look at the house, the sign, and the aspects that Jupiter is making, that is exactly the kind of energy that your ideal soul husband or your ideal partner is going to bring into your life. Jupiter has this amazing force of making you feel like whatever happens to you in life, you're coming up winning. It shows you how you're growing on a spiritual level, how you're being emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically nourished by someone. Say, for example, you have Jupiter and Pisces in your chart, and it is actually in a very communicative house, the third house. Well, your ideal husband is going to be like a Piscean, Jupiter and Pisces, yeah? So it's going to have these characteristics of being a little bit dreamy, being imaginative, being very go with the flow kind of person, laissez-faire, but also adopting quite a spiritual approach to the way in which they communicate, the way in which they read and they write. A woman with a Jupiter in Pisces in the third house is going to be made happiest by a man that has these characteristics. Let's take another one. Let's say you have Jupiter in Capricorn. Jupiter in Capricorn is famously known to be not such a great influence because the growth and expansive light and energy that Jupiter usually brings to a sign in your chart or to the area in your chart where it stays is a bit blocked by the stoicism and the limiting karmic capacities of Saturn. But let's say you have Jupiter and Capricorn in your chart. Let's say it's in a difficult house, like the 8th house, which is the house of intimate trusting, death, taxes, the occult, and magic, okay? It's the house naturally ruled by Scorpio. So you have quite a dark energy, which means that you are going to be attracted, and your soul husband is going to be a person that is going to help you grow through difficulty in lifetime. There might be things separating you. You might need to be very patient. You might need to have a couple of, it can happen, near-death experiences in order to be able to meet your soul husband. You could even meet your soul husband through your dreams or in psychic sessions, even before physically meeting them in this reality. That means that your Jupiter in Capricorn is functioning in a more heavier way, but that doesn't mean that you won't be made happy by having this influence in your chart. Jupiter in constantly, whenever you look at your chart, it's a source of blessings, it's a source of happiness. We look at our astrological Jupiter whenever the influence of all the other planets are frustrating us. And then a chart is also made more colorful by the fact that Jupiter can come together with other beautiful influences, such as Jupiter conjunct Moon, Jupiter conjunct Venus, Jupiter conjunct Mercury, This shows that you will have a partner that could come from, for example, in the case of Jupiter conjunct Venus, they could come from a family where they have a lot of women supporting them, a lot of beautiful siblings, a lot of great relationships with powerful women that are also involving some sort of monetary exchange or financial support. This also shows Jupiter conjunct Venus, a man that can be a feminist, a man that supports feminist causes. And if it is badly aspected, it also shows a man that likes to, well, sleep around, okay? So we need to keep that in mind as well. Jupiter conjunct Moon, for example, it shows that your ideal soul husband is one that is incredibly nurturing, but also has a very close, almost codependent relationship with his mother. Then keep that in mind. Jupiter conjunct Mercury shows that this person is incredibly brainy, needs mental stimulation, and loves to be in the public eye and to talk. This person could be a teacher themselves or could actually participate in conferences. This person needs a stage and a public to try to convey to others the wealth of their mental, rational mind. This person loves to acquire facts. So you are having on your hands a highly brainy type of ideal soul husband. I hope I clarified as best as I could the influence of Jupiter. This shows the type of man that makes you the happiest, a man that can help you grow, a mentor, a teacher, a protector, the type of man that whenever you are next to him, he will help bring a lot of abundance and prosperity in your chart. This is why a lot of astrologers consider this Jupiter influence to be the best, the ideal person that you should marry in this lifetime, because when you are by this person's side, you inevitably will grow. You will have a large family, you will have prosperity. Obviously, it's not as simplistic as this. I am trying to generalize it a little bit, so I won't confuse you guys at this stage. If we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, if we look at the aspects, if we look at the conjunctions that Jupiter is making to other planets, if we look at the synastry between you and your partner, then it gets a bit more complicated. But all in all, I do want to give you the picture that Jupiter in a woman's chart shows the person that will make you the happiest, the person that will constantly help you grow and will bring a lot of prosperity into your life. Now Mars. Mars, as you guys know, is the ruler of the sign Aries. It rules over people that are born at the end of March, beginning of April. This is a highly spring-like force, a masculine energy that is a lot about getting up and doing lots of things. Mars is incredibly active. It shows what drives us. Wherever we have Mars in our chart, it shows our style of taking action. So if you have a Mars in Taurus, for example, you could be slow and steady. If you have a Mars in Aries, you have an exalted Mars, and that means that you're always ready for action. You're always ready to jump headfirst into whatever new initiative. And you could also be a pioneer, birthing new things from the ether into the 3D here on Earth. But this is the interesting aspect, because Mars isn't only showing our capacity to act and our drive and our instinct, but in a woman's chart, it also shows the type of men that we are ridiculously sexually attracted towards, but also the type of men that can also drive us crazy, so we can have the strongest arguments with. It's that kind of a push and pull dynamic. I cannot live with you, but I cannot live without you, because just being physically close to you makes me want to rip your clothes off and push you up against the wall and have sex with you. And it is that, you know, igniting in your body, that hormonal cocktail that makes you want to keep going back to that person and keep having sex with them. Mars is a lot about lack of control. We do know that the opposite in the astrological wheel to Aries individuals is Libra, and Libra is a lot about self-control. It's a lot about balance. It's about passivity and receptivity. That's because Librans are ruled by Venus. Yeah, so it's exactly the opposite energy. The shadow self of Aries, ruled by Mars, is that lack of control, that lack of discernment, that I want something, I need to get it. It's like immediate gratification. So wherever you have Mars in your chart, depending on the house, the aspects, and the conjunction, it's going to show you the type of men that you will find physically delicious. you will feel instinctively attracted towards. There will be ridiculous sexual attraction, especially if Mars is in combination with Pluto, which makes it on a nuclear level. It's incredibly intense as a connection and also highly transformative. This is the kind of situation where, for example, I've seen it in the chart of people that lived very comfortable, beautiful lives being married to other people, and when they met a person that touched upon Mars and Pluto, they completely abandoned their previous lifetime and they risked it all for the sake of a passionate love affair. So it's that kind of a driver, right? It's that instinctive pull towards somebody that you just want to be around their body, inside their body, all over their body. It's also showing us that we need to be re-energized in that area of life. So when you meet a person whose sun, moon, or ascendant, but especially their sun, touches upon your Mars, then that person can stir within you this need to take action, to do something about your life and your current situation. Many times when Mars is not so well aspected, when there are 10 squares or oppositions, then you will have also some very nasty arguments with this person. It's that kind of a connection where, you know, you want to like smash plates, but then have rough makeup sex, because Mars is this kind of rough energy as well. It's the soldier in the chart. Now I want to compare Jupiter and Mars. So as I mentioned before, sometimes you might find yourself incredibly attracted towards a person whose sun touches on your Mars as a woman. And you might love but not feel so sexually aroused by a person whose Jupiter, whose sun touches upon your Jupiter. Sorry about that. If you have Mars and Jupiter in different signs and these are making either an opposition or a square with each other, there will be this inner conflict between a man that makes you happy but you don't feel sexually attracted towards, and a man that kind of fulfills you sexually but you don't feel like this is a person that can provide you with comfort, growth, stability. When you are in the lucky position to have Mars conjunct your Jupiter, that basically, you know, it's the winner. Congratulations, you have the best position, because this shows that the type of man you are sexually attracted towards is also the type of man that is your ideal soul husband. So you can grow with this person while also being energized. This person sexually satisfies you while also making you the happiest. Okay, so that is the ideal situation. Now, in a lesser form, not so intense as a conjunction, if you have Mars trine Jupiter or Mars sextile Jupiter in your chart, these are also seen as benefic influences, but they tend to diminish. So the strongest positive one would be the conjunction, then the lesser positive one would be the trine, which shows kind of like a friendship, things flowing easily between the two of you, and then the even lesser one, diminished in energy, would be the sextile. So it's kind of like there is an attraction there, but it's not mind-blowingly, but nonetheless the energies flow very easily between the type of men that you're attracted by and the type of men that ideally you should marry because they will make you happy. I also would like to give you an example to understand how this energy might play out in your chart. And I'm going to use myself because I'm the person I know best. I have my Mars in Taurus and my Jupiter in Aries. And this means that I am ideally made happiest by men who have characteristics similar to an Aries. Aries Sun in particular would be the kind of men that would be ideally best coupled with me because they would make me the happiest. And then my Mars is in Taurus, which means that men that have their Sun in Taurus are the men I am most physically attracted towards and the type of men that I will have the highest sexual compatibility with. This also means that Sun in Taurus men are men that can also get on my nerves very easily and that I would fight with and argue with. And I was lucky enough to have in my life these type of experiences, and I can let you know that this is very true. So I was in a long-term relationship with a man that had a Sun in Taurus, and that was touching upon my Mars in Taurus. And indeed, the thing that actually kept that relationship going was the fact that we had phenomenal sexual compatibility. But that was where the story ended. It didn't feel very emotionally close because our moon signs were not compatible. His moon was in Pisces, my moon was in Sagittarius. So that meant that we had highly different ways of relaxing, of feeling things, of understanding things. It was a type of incompatibility that could not be sustained only on passionate sex alone. So inevitably that relationship broke apart. Now with the other relationship, where I was lucky enough to meet a man that had his sun in Aries and was highly attracted to me, that meant that he made me the happiest. And indeed, I had a lot of moments where I was just laughing a lot with him. I felt like I was growing. I felt like the way he was, making quick decisions, being very brave and bold, was giving me life, okay? It was making me feel like the world is full of possibilities, like everything has potential. And the situation felt very light and bright. The only thing is that my Jupiter, it is conjunct what in Vedic astrology is called the malefic north node, Rahu. When you have Jupiter conjunct the malefic Rahu, or the north node of the moon in Western astrology, that means that it's creating uncomfortable tension there. So it was very difficult for me, because this is what I'm learning in this lifetime, to be bold and courageous and active and more confident and feisty. So basically how he was as an identity, it was very difficult for me though to feel really comfortable and relaxed, to trust him, to actually keep up with his pace, because my south node is in Libra and it was conjunct my ascendant. So I had to put in effort into being together with him, while at the same time feeling like he helps me grow, like he brings a lot of joy in my life, like things flowed easily between the two of us. So I hope that with these two examples, I've given you a little bit of a flavor how the energy of Jupiter and Mars could play in your charts. So the idea that Jupiter in a woman's chart is her husband is not something that I created. It actually comes from another astrologer called Ernst Willem. And I'm going to link down below the clip that initially taught me about how to spot astrological Jupiter and its role in a heterosexual woman's chart. In addition, I've also studied and I know about Ernst Willem from Astrolada or Lada Duncheva. Now, if you're in a same-sex situation and you're wondering, yeah, Lexi, but how does this apply to me? Well, it does apply, because in a same-sex situation, usually the roles tend to be relatively gendered nonetheless, because we all live in the patriarchy and this system kind of has predetermined, carved out roles for all of us. So everything tends to be divided into male and female and what is outside of this norm. So, for example, you tend to apply this understanding of Jupiter and Mars to the partner that has the strongest energy out of the two. The one that is the initiator, the one that is the competitor, the one that is more energetic and likes to take the lead. That would be the one whose Mars and Jupiter's energies you might want to take into account from your same-sex connection. That's it. I think I said everything. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this kind of attraction or this kind of situation. I hope this has taught you something new, and I look forward to seeing you in my next clip.